Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. A massive day in the VCT yesterday with the first two teams to qualify through to Shanghai from EMEA and the Americas getting locked in. 100 Thieves with a phenomenal individual performance from Asuna, from Bang, from Cryo, among many others, to knock down Leviathan to the losers bracket and secure 100 Thieves spot into Shanghai. Asuna, especially after so much criticism of himself individually, getting kept on this team after all the roster changes they made over the last couple of years, responding to the haters. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Another sensational Plat Chat classic right about here. But as we get into these games, we've got to talk about a major format announcement change for the event in Shanghai itself. So Leah Farrier and the right guys talked about this, exactly what it's going to look like. Now, so the way this works is as follows. Of course, there are 12 teams attending Shanghai. The winner of each International League playoffs, which of course is coming up over the coming days, they will get a bye into the playoffs. So it's pretty, it's like we've got 3 teams left in each of these regions around the world. Okay, and some we have 4, and we'll see tonight, let's say, who's going to take the final qualification spot. But you get 3 teams that qualify for Shanghai. You then have a losers finals, then a grand finals. The winner of the grand finals gets 3 points towards champs qualification, but also gets a bye in the tournament. So pretty important to try and win your own region. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's still pretty important. I still feel like qualification feels more impactful than being the #1 seed, but nonetheless, it's a nice thing to have. And now there is another advantage for the #1 seed. Not only do you get a bye through the Swiss system when it goes from 12 to 8, you go straight into the playoffs, so you're guaranteed and to be in the final 8 of the tournament if you're the #1 seed from the respective groups around the world. You now also get the power to choose the team you play in the playoffs. So people are debating whether this is actually good or bad. We'll get onto the Pancada stuff here in a second, because there are 12 teams in Shanghai, 3 per league, obviously. The #1 seed that wins the respective playoffs in their own region gets a bye straight to the playoffs. The other 8 teams that are 2nd and 3rd seeds, they play in a Swiss stage to get down to 4. Once it then becomes 4 of the remaining seeds versus 4 of the #1 seeds, then they get to choose who they play, the #1 seeds. Now, I actually think, while this may sound strange, I think this may be a good idea, because at the tournaments lately, the brackets are done randomly, right? And everyone says, are you sure they're random? Are they not rigged? Because, there's been lots of debate on this, and it's probably not the best PR look really for Riot that, people think, wow, okay, here we go, they've done it again because they're not drawing it on stage or whatever this type of things happen. Now, I will say it's a bit, randomized, because there's no way to determine which of the International League #1 teams, so China, Americas, EMEA or Pacific, deserves to go first. Because, let's say hypothetically there's one team that makes it through the Swiss stage that is weaker than expected. Probably the first team will pick them, but it will be randomized who gets to pick who. So they'll do a random draw and it'll say, okay, the Chinese #1 seed gets to pick first, then the America's #1 seed gets to pick second, and from then on, of course, the final International League winner gets no choice. They have to play who is left effectively of the 4. I do think this creates some nice storylines, though. It gives a nice advantage, although it is randomized whether you get a big advantage being able to pick 1 of 4, or whether you get to just be stuck with whoever's left. So it's probably not fantastic, but it's maybe more entertaining, because it means that, there's going to be storylines. A team will choose their playoff opponents. They can choose the team they think is the weakest. What if they then lose to that team? They're going to get clowned, right? Or what if they reject one team because they're a bit scared of playing them, and then those 2 teams match up again later, and that team says, yeah, damn, you were scared to pick us, and then we've gone and smoked you on the main stage. Like, I think it creates some very interesting storylines. So, yeah, personally, I'm not opposed to it, but it is definitely rather unusual. Just quickly on the Pancada stuff, there are rumors that Zand has basically signed the deal with Furia, but Pancada is still biding his time a little bit. He's not yet put pen to paper, probably understandably. We've talked about, of course, Loud, but also MIBR. Apparently MIBR are interested in getting Pancada as well, so there's a couple of teams still trying to get his signature, and yeah, probably Furia might make the most sense, but I don't believe that he's put pen to paper quite as of yet. This in the Chinese region, by the way, as expected, FPX and Edward Gaming, they got the victories yesterday to secure their spots in Masters Shanghai. Trace Esports versus Dragon Ranger Gaming will determine the final team that makes it, but as we can see, FPX currently at 1-0 on Icebox. They won that 13-10. Now it's 4-0 on the breeze to Edward Gaming so far, so that's going to be interesting to see how that concludes. Of course, the #1 seed in the region will be one of these 2 teams you'd most certainly think. The #1 seed in EMEA, though, we do not know the answer to that question yet, but we do know 2 of the teams that have qualified for Masters Masters Shanghai, and one of them is indeed FNATIC. They have had an absolute roller coaster of a last several stages, and they have had an absolute rollercoaster of a season so far, and it's still confusing to me what type of FNATIC we are going to get, because it's still the case that in the first half of games, they look pretty bad. Like, there's been so many games this year where they've been smashed first half, and then bang, they bring it back. This was super impressive, to be fair, from FNATIC to bring it back on the breeze. Really, it was the Leo show. Again, here we go. Boaster has like no kills and they win. I mean, it's just a classic, isn't it? But Leo just delivered a like beyond world-class performance yesterday. This was like universal class performance. This guy was doing it all. 300 ACS, 28 and 8 to bring the comeback on the breeze. They win that on their pick, and then they win the bind 39, and Leo again goes 18 and 11 here on the Gecko. So yeah, impressive from FNATIC. They've done the job. You know, I'm still not sure what to think of them. This was an impressive victory over KC, right? The team that haunted them way back at the start of the season, and Leo just individually had a monster showing here. And we know what FNATIC are capable of, but you know, we just don't see it from them as often as we did previously. So getting them to the international is going to be really interesting, because, you know, I think it's good to see FNATIC back there on an international stage, see if they can replicate some of their prior success and get back to that type of level that we know that they're capable of somewhere, but we haven't seen. We've just seen glimpses of it, really. But you know, glimpses of it was kind of enough against Carmine Corp, and that's going to lock them in. For T-Sports as well, they had a really good chance in this series against Heretics, but eventually they go down 13-11 on the Lotus. They had a nice first half and couldn't capitalize in the final few rounds, and then the split was an overtime where again they had, you know, they were up 12-9. 3 rounds in a row for Heretics to take it to overtime, then they won it in the overtime. So yeah, for Esports, they play some very good Valorant, but you know, in the end, when push came to shove and it came down to icing up, it was Gen.G, Fishy, and the boys that did so. This guy just continues to get better and better, right? Like, it's honestly incredible to me that Gen.G Fishy, he made like, you know, $600,000 plus in earnings in Fortnite, comes over to Valorant, and within a relatively short period of time has now attended 2 international events. Now he's qualified with Heretics. So for Esports and of course Carmine Corp, they go down to the losers bracket. The winner of that this evening will be determined to be the final team through to the Shanghai for the EMEA side. Of course, as we said, the #1 seed in that region is going to be rather important. And in the Americas, also a rather remarkable bracket. We'll just quickly say on EMEA, right, the fact that Heretics take down for Esports, you know, we'll see how Heretics do against FNATIC, for example. But yeah, Na'Vi will be kind of gutted if Heretics go on to win the playoffs in EMEA and they, you know, lost to that team despite beating FNATIC recently. Yeah, the format hasn't been great for that, I'm not gonna lie. But we had 2 massive games in the Americas as well, right? We had Boostio versus Leviathan. Okay, 100T versus Leviathan, we'll get to that in a second, very entertaining tweets. But also G2 versus Crew Esports, and you know, it's fascinating to watch these teams that have such a good regular season, and then when it comes to the playoffs, it doesn't really work. And I know that Cloud9, I'm sure they were frustrated having played rather well during the regular season. They turn up to the playoffs, don't really deliver. And Crew might have well have done a similar thing here, right? Like, Crew were looking not untouchable, but they were not looking like getting 13-5'd on Icebox and 13-8'd on the Ascent in a very comfortable series for G2. A G2 team that got, you know, slammed by Loud the other day, but nonetheless a G2 team that seems to be getting more and more comfortable with Icy. And this is a great series for G2 and a great series for Leaf individually, but also a great storyline, right? Because they've come through challenges, come through Ascension, they qualified through. There was debates like, how good would G2 be? And my feeling was they'd probably be, you know, a top 6 team, something like that, middle of the pack. And that could still be true in some respect, but they've done enough when it mattered to take down Cloud9, to take down Crew Esports, and as, you know, FNS says, of course, joined them recently as a content creator, like their costume or whatever, made another LAN, no biggie about it, and, you know, well done to all involved. So yeah, great storyline for G2 there. Of course, Crew still have another chance, but we'll see that here in a second. But the big series was this one, 100T versus Leviathan. We've been talking about 100T for the last few days. The clearly massive improvements that they have made to get to this point of being competitive again. Lev, though, was such a good team this stage. And here comes Asuna around the corner, gets one with a showstopper, and then finishes out the final kill onto Aspas as well. Like, it's not often you see Aspas get outclassed in a series, and Aspas was still great this series. There's absolutely no playing that down. But you know, 100T just played well as a team and better as a team. And this guy Boostio, man, this guy deserves so much credit, and Zix as well for the way that he joined, of course, as the coach of that team for the new season. Because we've been talking now for the last couple of years, Asuna, Bang, Cryo, like, that trio is so good. And like they showed loads of glimpses of promise over the last year or so, but I was just confused why it didn't work. It's like, surely Asuna, Bang, Cryo, like it's got to work, right? It's got to work. And they found a way to make it work, and it took Boostio joining the roster. So this was crazy as well from Asuna. You just know it's your day when you get a kill like that to close out the game, and there's nothing King can do about it. GG, 100T to Shanghai, what a story.
It's up to Calm now just to try to delay that.
Wait, what?
Nah, Peter's trick shot, brother. This ain't phase plan.
What did I say?
Let's go!
What did I say?
Let's go!
That's how we play.
I got bad news, brothers.
Crazy.
We're gonna be real annoying on the timeline for the next few weeks. Just look at look at that. Gentlemen, I'll tell you what, myself included, this team, we were a bunch of losers before we put this 2024 Adidas jersey on together, and now we're winners. If you want to do that too, they're available now. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you later, Leviathan. Don't forget your stuffed animals on the way out. And if those have a very meaningful importance for those players, I did not mean to poke fun at it. It's just the cheapest material for the dumbest man alive. It's all I had. Had to let it fly. I'm sorry. That turtleneck did look good, though, brother. That man ass pass. He might not be able to clutch up in these rounds, brother, but I bet he could walk that runway, man. He's got a great career ahead of him. GG's Leviathan. We don't really win that often, so I don't know how to act. Please forgive me. This is a mistake. I'll stop talking now.
Okay, yeah, let me look at stats first. Okay, let's do that. Why didn't I just refresh? I mean, fuck me, bro. He played phenomenally well. Like, Aspas does look insane with his 16 kills, but legit, this guy's impact is unreal. He played 3 different agents as well. Pretty insane. I can't cap.
So Aspas still did lead the charge on the other side, right? 55 in 49. He went 16 and 8 in first kills to first deaths. But, you know, Cryo just straight up outperformed him on average. 58 in 42. Asuna was 60 in 46. You know, we've talked a lot about Asuna. He's been touted as this real top talent, and we've seen evidence of it, but we have not seen evidence of it consistently enough. But, you know, this Bang, Asuna, Cryo trio, they've now brought in EU. Of course, Boostio had a great series as well. Sure, he was 4 and 15 in first kills, but, you know, still delivered a solid performance, and that's not, you know, you don't need everything from Boostio. And it was the words of Asuna I thought that were, you know, the best of the day, really. He had this one prepared absolutely, right? When people were telling him, you know, time to learn Chinese, buddy. That was even the joke with 100T last year, right? Oh, bang, it's time to learn Chinese, buddy. And yeah, every single hater that told me to learn Chinese, I'm glad, because I'm going to Shanghai, we're going to Shanghai, and it's cool to see this redemption arc, right? Like the start of the season, it was the Sentinels redemption arc in some way, getting back to the top. Now it feels like it's the 100T redemption arc. Finally, they've got a team that vibes together, that seems to like playing with each other. They've got the talent that has, you know, been undisputed now for some time, and now they're delivering the results. So awesome series. This now leaves us with the following. This was not at all, like, I clowned Plat Chat for this one, but, you know, I would not have predicted what has actually happened here in this bracket, because G2 are playing 100T in the upper final. One of those teams is going straight to the grand final. Both of those teams, of course, qualified for Masters Shanghai, and it's going to be one of Crew or Lev that are going to play tonight that's going to determine what happens. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.